Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Buzz. I'm Joe Davidson. I'm right here. Look, there's me there. There's Cameron Salerno. There's Jim Patrick. We will not have Jim Patrick today. He's under the weather, but he's here in spirit. Under the weather. I mean, get sick on your own time, right? It's good to be back. We took last week off. I was up in Oregon to go visit my sister Kate, who lives on a farm in Ashland. So it was nice to go check out the cows, if you will, in the nice weather. All kinds of stuff going on right now. We got high school sports, big time things going on. Softball is wrapping up regular season play this week. Baseball playoffs are in full swing. We'll talk to Cameron Salerno right here, one of the Three Stooges. We'll talk to him about that at length. Of what some of the big playoff games were on Tuesday, some big upsets, including some of the biggest in Sac Joaquin section history. We'll have some charts running down some of the big games today. The second round games in the baseball playoffs for the Sac Joaquin section are today at 4 p.m. Get out there, soak up the weather, go support a good local team, go check out a player. It's good stuff there. First, before we talk about other spring stuff and what's going on, we're going to take a look at the NFL draft. Came and went, and we had nobody drafted for the first time in years. It doesn't mean it was a bad crop. It's hard. Not everybody's going to get drafted in 7 rounds, but let's take a look at this. So I'm going to go left to right with these photos. That's Carson Strong in the upper left, a quarterback who did not play his senior year at Wilsey Wood in Vacaville with a knee issue. Did the knee issue catch up to him at Nevada and cost him a draft spot? Probably. There's no doubt. Media doesn't have access to medical reports, but that's a concern. But he has a chance. All of these guys have a chance as an undrafted free agent. They're going to have a shot to make a roster spot. Upper right corner, that's Tucker Fisk of Davis, a man in high school, played at Stanford. He just signed with the Atlanta Falcons. His father, Jason Fisk, was a Davis high school star a generation ago in the late 80s, played 12 years in the NFL in the trenches on the defensive line out of Stanford. So how about that? A father-son Stanford situation there. Orlando Umano of Grant and Ole Miss signed with the Vikings in the trenches there. Bottom left on the corner here is the Del Oro quarterback from a few years ago, Stone Smart. He was the one who helped lead them to the 2015 CIF state championship. He was 6'4" in high school, 195 pounds, 4.3 GPA, team leader, not a ton of recruiting interest. Why is that? Well, that's how competitive it is. So you go where it fits, go where it's right. He went to Northern Arizona, transferred to Old Dominion, finished up as a receiver, and now he's a tight end. He's about 6'5", 240 pounds. So sometimes they keep growing. Bryce Rogers, Dan Whalen, 2 guys from UC Davis. Cooper Richardson, bottom right-hand corner. He's out of Folsom High School. He signed with the Sierra for the Canadian Football League in the trenches. Amazing story as a high school junior. He had a hard time just holding his own in the trenches. By the time he was a senior, he was dominant. Got the scholarship to UC Davis, started a bunch of games there, and at Sac State his graduate transfer year. So good job for Big Coop. And there we go. All right, let's take a look at more football. It's spring stuff with everything else going on, but there's always football going on around here, from Sac State to UC Davis to the Power 5 programs, visiting local campuses as they make their national tour, and they're going onto these local campuses, whether it's Folsom or Grant or whatever, to take a look at what they have. And that's everybody from Alabama to Ohio State, Georgia, USC, and the local colleges, as we mentioned, Sac State, UC Davis. And so really, it doesn't matter what high school you go to. College coaches do not care about statistics or strength of schedule or how many Twitter followers or Instagram likes you have and all that. They don't care about stats. They want a body, they want ability, they want film that pops, and they want grades. That's why they're stopping by these campuses to take a peek, and coaches are wise not to exaggerate. This is for all sports, but one thing that college coaches do bristle about is the meddling, overdone parent. And if you want to suffocate your kid in high school, you might want to ease off once they get to college, or they may not even get to a certain college, but the coaches in college aren't going to stand for it. All right, here's a tweet from Grant High School, and the Grant Pacers, the great Grant Pacers, had an army of recruiters on their campus in the 1980s, 90s, and 2000s. Grant did not win a football game last fall. Doesn't mean you don't have players. And these schools continue to stop by, including Nebraska this week and others. If you got size and skill, and you got good grades and contact and character, you'll get on the radar. It's that simple. All right, we have some. As we continue our football theme here for just a moment, we have two major recruits that you might remember from last fall, and they're back. They're youngsters, and that's Rico Flores of Folsom, a junior receiver. I'm sorry, a senior receiver to be, and his teammate is a Walker Lyon. So two big-time national recruits from the same school. We were so impressed with them the last couple of years. Cameron Salerno's done stories on these guys, and I have as well. Rico Flores is going to announce on July 3rd where he'll go, and his top three are Georgia, Notre Dame, Ohio State. That tells you that he's a player. He's a terrific talent, and these guys are terrific students and campus leaders, so that it really makes a difference. All right, let's take a look at something a little different here. We do a Prep of the Week poll every week. Cameron does it for the girls. I do it for the boys. I hope you could read this. It just kind of shows what we have out there. Tate Cutler of Davis Swimming won a couple section championships. Cody Granite DePrado of River City Track and Field. Jackson Floyd of Whitney Track and Field. Hayden Gouffron of Granite Bay Swimming. The CIF Swimming Championships are this weekend. And we got baseball guys everywhere. Braden King. Another track guy is Elias Mulliken. Braden King's of Jesuit. Jesuit Track and Field. Won the distance events in the just recently, and the section championship next week. So there's those guys. Take a look on SACB.com, and we try to get as many names in there as we can from different sports. We certainly rely on coaches and parents. We don't always invite input from parents, but we want to hear from people. And we're talking about football. Sione Noah of Grant won the Metro League Championship in the discus and the shot. He's on our list. He's a football guy, multi-sport. Most of these guys are multi-sporters. Elias Mulliken, track and field, won the Sierra Foothill League Championship in the long jump with a record, a league record, 23 feet, 9.5 inches. That's big time. And also won the triple jump, 46 feet, a quarter inch. Elias Mulliken's going to Sac State to play in the secondary on returns, maybe even handle the ball on offense. So the point being, give these guys a peek, give them a vote. Cameron also has a good girls poll every week. So we want to hear from you guys on that, from parents and things like that. All right. One thing that's fun about doing this job is we can catch up with student athletes from yesteryear, and that's Mason Forbes is this week's example. I tweeted this out last week. 4-year starter at Folsom High School, always had the big fro. Look at that great look of hair. He went by the fro. Goes to Harvard, plays 4 years, graduating there in a couple of weeks. How's that for a resume starter? And then he's going to use his graduate transfer option to play his senior year at St. Mary's College in Moraga, a mid-major monster. So fun for the family to be able to go down there. His sister, Kenzie Forbes, is going to finish up at Harvard. Just a terrific family of basketball stars. And I'm envious with the hair. I mean, that's just, you do it. You do you, Mason. That's good stuff there. I ran a story a couple of weeks ago on UC Davis baseball hazing, and we did all those stories. The program was suspended last July. New coach, that's Tommy Nicholson there. He was a longtime assistant coach at Stanford. The team was 4-27. They're back on track. And it's been a tough road. I don't understand hazing. I don't know why people would do it. I think you shatter experiences. They're supposed to be your brothers. They're supposed to be your teammates. It's no longer an issue there. A lot of the players have long since been flushed out. The whole coaching staff has been flushed out. I think the coach, Tommy Nicholson, is the right guy to be there. I had a long lengthy talk. Take a look at that on SACB.com. And two local kids I talked to as well on the UC Davis baseball program were not part of the hazing. They weren't victims of it. They didn't encourage it, but they feel the vibes of being in a program that had that over them. That's J.D. Miko, who played at McClatchy and then played for his dad, Don Miko, at Casunas River College, and he's an infielder. And then Jonah Hendrickson, a first baseman who is out of Davis High School in town there. Jonas had 4 concussions in baseball. Hit by a pitch a couple times. One time took a knee to the head on an outfield play, and then last year is the most hilarious one, if he doesn't mind me laughing, but he was laughing too. He made a big play, and all his teammates ran up and were slapping him on his helmet. His brain has been pushed around so many times. He got a concussion from that. Why play? because this is what he does. This is what he likes to do. So kudos to those guys. Kudos to Coach Tommy Nicholson for getting this thing back on track. The Aggies have all the makings of being a terrific baseball program. And let's just make this a message. If you're a high school coach or a college coach and you engage in any form of hazing, it's going to catch up to you. It's old school. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. And if it's they're going to be tougher, then you're in the wrong deal, because that stuff's going to get out, and it's just not a good thing. So anyways, all right. We don't have Jim Patrick here, except for in spirit only. And normally we go over the softball rankings. We'll do this really quick before we bring Cameron Salerno on. These rankings are done by our good friend Pete DeFore, who does a top 20. That's on SACB.com. Does a great job breaking down news, notes, themes, and trends. Same regulars here. So I'm going to jump ahead. So the teams to look for in the section playoffs that start next week for softball are certainly every one of these teams. And some of these teams are from the same league. Sheldon, St. Francis, Elk Grove are all from the Delta League. So is Pleasant Grove. Sierra Foothill League includes Del Oro, Folsom, Rockland. Roseville's coached by the great Art Banks, who is going to retire after 700 years and 700 wins or so. So, that team's going to be motivated, the Tigers, to send out their classic coach a winner. Rockland's also up the SFL, Sierra Foothill League. And then I added, normally we put a top 10 ranking, but we want to get those last two teams in there, Sutter and East Nicholas of the northern section, small schools that play big time. So get out and check out a softball game. These girls, so many of these teams have full scholarships, and how they budget their time and their schedule and academics is amazing. So kudos to them. Really good stuff. All right, let's get Cameron Salerno on board to help save the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Pizza in Roseville yesterday. It was his sister who made this cool thing. We want to get a bigger one. We want one that's so big that it fills the whole screen, because it's all about us. So
yeah,
we look like stooges. I think I'll just do the show from down here and just let people watch whoever's talking there. So we appreciate your mom and your dad and your sister for helping with these great images and all that kind of stuff.
Maybe I need to shave my head so I fit in more with that graphic. My hair sticks out like a sore thumb.
I know it. Well, next time you lose a bet, and it's going to happen, then we shave it off. So, all right, let's talk some baseball. Let's start off with let's lead off, if you will, with Brian Kilby of Franklin High School of the Oak Grove Unified School District. He just won his 200th game a couple weeks after Mike Dinochoa won his 300th game at McClatchy. These are remarkable feats, Cameron, and I've known Brian Kilby for years. He's also the activities director on campus. So this guy will sleep in his office if he has to help make sure that the senior prom is going to get off just fine, that the graduation is going to work just fine. And, oh, by the way, he leads a championship baseball team. Classy guy, good guy, and they are the top seed, Cameron, in the Division I field, and they avoided an upset when so many others were upset. So give me a quick rundown on what you think of the Wildcats as they look to win a section championship.
Man, I mean, Kilby's just a good dude in general. I mean, you hope you get coaches like that to talk to you. I mean, just all class, good guy, always available when I want to talk to him, and he's good in victory and defeat. And I thought you mentioned a really good point. I mean, Franklin won convincingly 12-1, I believe, but a lot of other teams who are highly ranked in our rankings and higher seats lost in the opening round. And so for Franklin, obviously, to come out on top, a 12-1 win, I mean, it's big. They played Vacaville today, which is the two-time defending Division I section champion. I really like Franklin. I mean, they have two really solid pitchers in Nolan Stevens and Jordy Lopez. Lopez being a sophomore and Stevens obviously being a junior committed to Mississippi State. And I've said before, I think he's the best junior in the entire area. Just a really talented player, and I think he's going to be really good at Mississippi State if he even makes it there, because you know how the MLB draft works, and there's a chance he's selected in the first few rounds of the draft next summer. So, yeah, Franklin's a really good team, and like you said, upsets happen, and if who knows what's going to happen today with all the teams remaining. So, I think
it's crazy. Let's call David Caraccio is our terrific producer. David, let's pop up our Division I baseball chart for these are today's games, 4 p.m. home sites. Vacaville just beat River City, beat Freddie Rodriguez. They're the ace for River City is going to Cal Poly. We'll talk about him in just a second. Stu Clary is the Vacaville coach. You were correct, sir. They won the section championship. The Bulldogs did in 2018-19. No season in 2020 because of COVID. And no playoffs last spring because of condensed schedule. So here they are with 14 key juniors. It's a young team. They don't feel any pressure at all. And a game I'm going to go check out today is Folsom this year. Foothill League taking on McClatchy. We know what McClatchy has: Gabe Henderson, Malcolm Moore, Central Valley of Series with a big upset. On the theme of upsets, upset Elk Grove the other day. And so, and then St. Mary's of Stockton at Whitney. Whitney almost lost its opener. So the biggest upset the other day, and one of the biggest in any sport in section history, was the Laguna Creek Cardinals of the Elk Grove Unified, seeded 16th out of a 16-team field with 9 wins. And they went up to Wood Creek and lost the game 4-3. Were you as stunned as I was about that, Cameron? I think that really turned up. I think that really turned everybody. And it's single elimination until the semifinals, and it happens. And that's what makes high school sports fun. But boy, what a tough way to end for. Let's call up the Division II bracket, David, if we could.
This isn't a biased statement.
Instead of Lodi playing at Wood Creek, there's Laguna Creek marching on. So a great win for Laguna Creek, terrific effort, and as probably the biggest win in school history.
This isn't a biased statement because I went there. As some people may know, I went to Wood Creek. Wood Creek had one of the best high school baseball teams this season I've seen, just from a commitment standpoint. I mean, they have Braden Sloan's going to USC. They have Jake Harvey going to Nevada. They have Zach Malone, younger brother of Wood Creek famous alum Tyler Malone. They have, obviously, Austin Nye, who's a star sophomore, going to Vanderbilt. They have Kane Thompson going to Santa Clara. So, I mean, they were just stacked from top to bottom, and one of the best teams of just in the last decade, probably, in Sacramento. And they lost the season opener to Rockland. They lost the final game of the regular season, Roseville, but they won 25 straight in between. So I thought they were going to be the team to go to Northern California or go to the Northern California Championships and win a Northern California Championship for the first time, because that's something new this year. So yeah, I was stunned they lost, but that's baseball. And I think with how the playoffs work in the first few rounds, if you have an ace pitcher, you can throw him and you have a chance to win. So yeah, I mean, obviously I was really shocked it happened, but just because of how baseball playoffs work in this section, it's not a huge surprise that upsets are bound to happen.
You know, and you and I were talking about, yes, it's disappointing. It's hugely disappointing for Wood Creek. And this is a team that expected to do big things and had a great year. It was ranked number 2 in Northern California for the last few weeks by Max Preps, highly ranked state top 5 by Cal High Sports and More Tennis. So Cameron, you did the baseball rankings this season for the Sacramento Bee, and your preseason number 1 team was Elk Grove, upset loss first round. And then the team that emerged as number 1 for most of the season was Wood Creek, upset first round. Hey, man, it happens. It happens. We saw it in basketball, in boys basketball, where in Division II, Ponderosa was 27-1 and 27-0 and lost to St. Mary's of Stockton, a 16 seed, beating a number 1 seed. It happens. And it's just, you're kind of just floored by it if you're that team or you're the alums and all that. So that's what kind of makes it fun. So you're going to check out a game. Let's call up that chart again, David, for Division II baseball. You're going to a good game. Size it up. I think you're doing Jesuit at Granite Bay. What do you know about these programs? I know that Joe Patoli is the longest standing coach in this region. At one spot, he's been the head coach at Jesuit since 92, I think. So closing in on 30 years. Class guy. You've talked to him a couple times. What do you like in this game? And this is a terrific Division II matchup.
I mean, it's as good as it's going to get. I mean, as far as a second round matchup goes, obviously Jesuit. When you look at Jesuit and Granite Bay, those are 2 really strong programs that have been powerhouses in the last decade. I believe Granite Bay didn't have the best season, the regular season rather, this year. I mean, they lost a bunch of league games. They played a really tough schedule. I think at one point they were like 5-12, which is kind of unheard of. And I thought they would be a team to be a favorite to win the Sierra Foothill League, but obviously they bounced back big time. And Jesuit's kind of the same thing. I mean, they were in contention to win the Delta League, but lost a really close game to Elk Grove. And that's why Franklin ended up winning the Delta League, because if Jesuit would have won the series finale rather against Elk Grove a few weeks ago, they'd have been in contention to win the Delta League going to the final week. So definitely, I think
Jesuit would have been Division I had it won the Delta League.
Exactly. So it just shows that how the playoffs work, and if people aren't familiar with the format, if you're in a Division One league, for example, like the Sierra Foothill League, if you win that league, even if you have a Division Two enrollment, you get bumped up to Division One, and that goes for all sports such as football, basketball, baseball. And so the Delta League and the Sierra Foothill League, the two biggest leagues in the Sacramento area, and probably the two best leagues, have a lot of teams that are borderline Division Two, Division One teams. And so
Right.
you have a case where a team might win the division. Like, I'll give you an example. Rockland football, they're a Division Two enrollment at heart, but because they won this year for Hill League, they're bumped up to Division One. And so yeah, I mean, it happens. And there's a few fixtures in Division One. Obviously, Folsom and Oak Ridge will always be Division One. Whitney is a team that probably would have been in Division Two, but they won the Sierra Hill League, so they had to go up. And so it gets interesting when you have teams, maybe people argue, oh, why are Sierra Hill League teams or Delta League teams in Division Two? Well, just because that's their enrollment. I mean, not every school in that league has a 2,000 plus enrollment. So, yeah, so
Right.
that's where it gets interesting and really
And
interesting.
people are confused about the enrollments because every section is different in California. Because we have 10 different sections, so there's a lot of different things going on there. You saw Rio Marcano with a spirited extra inning win at Rockland. I think you said your phone was dying. You're out there for 11 innings, and is this thing ever going to end? Big win for Rio Marcano. You like the coach, you like his theme. What's his theme? I mean, he was an underdog, but he has a theme of apply the heat.
And Ron Hall at the coach of Rio Americano, for context, Rio Americano, I think, went 25-2 last spring. And they're a team that they're loaded as one of their best teams in school history. So had there been playoffs, they probably been the top seed Division 3. And so you don't have that season, and that's devastating for a program and those kids, and obviously a senior-led group. But he told me before the season that he had 7 guys who hadn't even played a varsity baseball game, and all of the players had never even played in a playoff game because of COVID, just because the last 2 playoffs have been wiped out. And so,
which makes it even more interesting. And Stu Clary, the Vacaville coach who won his opener over River City in Division One, now going to play at top-seeded Franklin today in Division One, and he said the same thing that you're talking about, Cameron, where we had to do a lot more teaching, and a lot of these guys hadn't played on a varsity roster, most of them, and it's been a while, and so no, it's interesting. And the coach that we were talking about for Rio Americano is Ron Hall. He's done some nice work there, and that program's been up and down over the years. They had some terrific teams, won a section championship in the early 90s with a really good team, and then they dropped, and so they're coming back up. So kudos to him. It takes a lot of work to keep a baseball program alive and active, and fundraising and grooming younger kids, and so when programs drop down and they climb back up, that's a lot of work. Laguna Creek has experienced that. Laguna Creek has had good seasons, and Elk Grove Unified's had some bad seasons. Went 3rd place in the Metro League this season, behind McClatchy and River City, 9 wins. Now they have 10 wins after the big upset win at Wood Creek. So it's we talk so much about football and basketball. Those are the big main sports. But man, some of these coaches for baseball do some great work. There's a lot of work, and these guys are out there mowing the field, the infield, and raking it, and they're just. They take on the whole project, and you know that you've talked to these coaches, and they're in it for the right reason. So kudos to them.
Joe, you are something pretty funny. So last spring, I believe I covered, I don't know how many losses. I think Wood Creek had 4 losses last spring. Laguna Creek, I think, had 5 or 6. I covered 2 Laguna Creek games and 2 Wood Creek games, and they lost both games. So maybe I'm the bad luck charm for both of them. But obviously, Laguna Creek's doing well.
Put a blot over this face when he comes to your event. So,
Laguna Creek had a really good season last year. I mean, they had a senior-led group. So, I mean,
we saw the season they were Laguna Creek showdown, right? But they graduated.
Yeah, they were ranked coming into the year. Then they really struggled, and then they kind of found themselves back in the mix to be ranked. So, what a statement!
They found their place, at Wood Creek. All right, let's take a look at this great chart that we came up with. Sacramento Bee Baseball Player of the Year candidates, and this is all going to be on you, Cameron. You are heading this baseball charge here. Some of these names are very familiar if you're following baseball. Jake Harvey, Wood Creek just won the Capital Valley Conference Player of the Year. Gabe Henderson is tremendous. He's 9-1 on the mound. He's their ace. He's a good hitter. Certainly Malcolm Moore, Matt Moses. You talked about a lot of these guys. So I'm going to go to one guy, Jackson Nichols of Valley Christian Academy of Roseville. Why would you have him on this list when he's such a small school?
Well, I mean, he's dominant. I think he's second in the section in RBIs. I think he has 45 on the year. I mean, that's not an updated total. But yeah, I mean, the list is, the show, and if the audience doesn't too, our player of the year is really based off playoffs. And for the last 2 years, that hasn't been the case because there hasn't been the playoffs. So you had to go off the regular season and obviously team success as a whole. But all these guys have done really well this season. They're either league MVPs or they're really strong candidates. And could this list change in the next 2 weeks? Absolutely.
Could change by the end of this show. I mean, holy cow! Great point. So when we do our B players of the year for football, basketball, baseball, softball, we factor in the playoffs because those are the main seasons. And so let's say if you had a regular season player of the year, I'm sure you're going to go with Malcolm Moore. Boy, does he earn it. He's got like 14 home runs. He's going to Stanford. He might be a first or second round draft pick this summer. He does everything. But let's say for the sake of argument, Nolan Stevens of Franklin, their junior lefty, let's say he goes 3-0 in the playoffs, or he goes 4-0 in the playoffs, and he beats Malcolm Moore. So that's the fun part of it. What if Caden Knapp has a great season for Vista Del Lago in the playoffs, and they win a section championship? So that's what makes it fun. It gets these names out here. The other bonus too, Cameron, is we do a overall B player of the year for all the sports, and then in the last couple of years to honor all the different divisions, we'll do a large school player of the year, medium school player of the year, small school player of the year, and the super smalls, which is where a Valley Christian Academy could fit in, because we recognize and acknowledge the small schools like Sacramento Adventist Academy in boys basketball with Brecken Beeman a couple of years ago. Hey, worthy, good kid, good character, spotty coaching with Scott Tedman. We understand that, but he overcomes it. But no, that's good stuff. So I appreciate it. Okay, give me a little bit of information on Matt Moses. What does he play? What do you like about him? And how's his team doing?
Yeah, his coach raves about him, and he says he's just a great player. I mean, great pitcher, hits well. I forget his stat from last week, but I think he went like 5 for 5 with like 3 or 4 RBIs. Like, just he's having a great season. He's definitely their best player at Del Campo. I'm really intrigued by him too. I mean, he's a guy who I saw play last season at Del Oro, when they played Del Oro rather, and he was a standout player, and I was impressed by him. And so when you kind of to piggyback off the whole point, there's going to be an overall player of the year, and I think unless something happens the next 2 weeks, it's likely going to be Malcolm Moore McClatchy, who's been the best player the last 2 seasons. And probably, honestly, I mean, if you look at the whole, I mean, he's been a top 3 player in the last 4 seasons that he's even played, or since high school he started playing high school baseball rather. And so there's other guys who will be in contention, because we have a large school player of the year, medium school player of the year, small school player of the year, small school player of the year. And so all these guys will be in contention for those respective divisions. But go back to your point about Moses, he's a really good player, and he's definitely going to be needed by Del Campo if they want to make a run.
That's excellent. This is all good stuff. Cameron, always good to have you, my friend. Keep up the good work. We'll be following your tweet updates from your big game in today with Jesuit and Granite Bay. So we say goodbye to Cameron. Let's put some black tape over there. We had no Jim Patrick here. He was under the weather. Just the audacity, get sick on Sunday or something. So we appreciate David Caraccio and Jim Silver, our behind the scenes guys who give us the good graphics and make sure that we stay on course and we don't fall over. We appreciate everybody. If you missed some of this show, they get linked later. Same with previous shows. We appreciate everybody. We will see everybody next week.